Lara, can you hear me okay?
I can, yes.
It's Lara, not Laura, correct?
Yeah, you're right, Lara. Yeah.
You never know when people try and pull the Lara. I know it's Lara Flynn Boyle. That 60 Minutes journalist, I think, is a Laura.
Honestly, I get more Laura than anything, and that really bothers me. Just a couple days ago, I made a post on Facebook that said, for all the people that still say my name wrong, think of it like paradise, but Laradice.
Wow. Well, anyway, am I getting you from the Hudson Valley?
Yeah, I'm in Kingston, right by Woodstock.
Nice. When was it that you made the quest off of Long Island for good?
When I graduated high school.
So that was a conscious decision of I'm getting out of here. That's it.
Well, I mean, I moved to go to college. I moved up, like I went to Albany for a couple years, and then I graduated from New Paltz, which is kind of where I live, near where I live now. It just, by the time I graduated, this place already felt like home.
Got it. So do I have it correct that you grew up in Plainview, Long Island?
Yes.
Now, Plainview seems to be one of those places where lots of famous people grew up who had great careers in entertainment, but they didn't quite find themselves when they were growing up. In other words, it wasn't quite I can do anything when I grow up that I want to. It's like they found themselves afterwards. Was that kind of the case for you?
I mean, I first got going in performing, doing community theater in Plainview with my mother, through our synagogue, called the Patio Players at the Plainview Jewish Center. So starting about when I was 9, I think we started doing shows together, and then up through high school, we did Oliver, West Side Story, Fiddler on the Roof, Annie, Guys and Dolls. Show tunes are kind of my first love. Both my parents, are very into show tunes, so I grew up very much immersed in that life, and so that kind of got me being comfortable on stage at a really young age.
Interesting. The more interviews I do, the more people I find that are from Plainview, though. Like, for example, do you know the movie Dirty Dancing, the song She's Like the Wind?
Sure.
The guy who co-wrote that song, Stacy Weidlitz, who wrote it with Patrick Swayze, went to Plainview JFK.
This is news to me.
So he went there, and I was asking him, so did you go to school with anybody else that kind of made it an entertainment? He mentioned a comedy writer whose name I didn't know, but he said he was there with the drummer of Winger.
Huh. So this guy must be in his 60s or 70s?
Early 60s, I think. Same with the drummer of Winger, Rod Morgenstern.
Huh.
But there was them. Were you in high school around the same time that Hoodie Allen was?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, got it. I mean, he had a #1 Billboard independent record, and I forget what his real name is. It's clearly not Hoodie or Allen.
And he's from Plainview?
From Plainview, yeah.
I don't even really know who he is. I'm clearly out of the loop. But I want to look it up now.
Yeah, I remember Newsday going all gaga over him, like, hey, Long Island has another #1 artist, and it's not just Billy Joel, and it's not just 9 Days.
I'm looking at his picture. He looks like he's a little bit younger than me. Hoodie Allen. I'm gonna have to do some digging. I'm intrigued.
Huh. And then definitely younger than you, there's a famous professional wrestler who's on weekly television from Plainview JFK named Max Friedman. His wrestling name's Maxwell Jacob Friedman. I'd assume that's off your radar as well.
It is off my radar. Wow. I've definitely good. I'm happy to hear good things coming out. I actually had my choir teacher in high school was Paltrowitz.
That is my brother.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, small world of it all.
Yeah,
so you did a cappella, I'm taking it.
I did a cappella in college. I actually didn't really do it much in high school.
Got it. Did you have a punny name for your a cappella group in college?
Of course. The Sexy Pitches.
The Sexy Pitches. Well, the small world nature of it all is my brother in high school choir was in there with the guy who wrote the movie Pitch Perfect. And his book largely explored how there is a big Jewish connection to a cappella in general. Was that ever on your radar or no?
Not really. I just when I went away to college, I just kind of fell into it. But the people in the a cappella group, there was a couple of Jewish people, but it wasn't, the majority, I don't think.
Sure. But what exactly was the launching pad from Broadway, show tunes, a cappella, which you can kind of lump them in the same direction, to Rockabilly? Was it a gateway artist in particular?
Well, There were other bands before I got into the rockabilly genre. Like when I first joined college, when I first went to college, I went with my best friend from high school.
Hmm.
She was a year older than me, so she had already been at New Paltz, so I was able to come visit her and kind of see how much I liked it here. So then I came. So we started our first band together in college, an all-girl band, and that was more of like a pop rock, indie rock kind of thing. Um, After that, for about 10 years, overlapping with the rockabilly stuff, I played in like a kind of heavy rock, punk rock band called Tiger Piss. And then about 12 years ago, I kind of got a phone call. I mean, I knew the more mainstream rockabilly stuff, like I grew up, a lot of the Beatles could be considered rockabilly and just
Yeah.
original rock and roll. So I grew up with that and Jerry Lee Lewis and Richie Valens. And, I knew and really liked and appreciated that kind of stuff. But about 12 years ago, I got a phone call from a stranger who said, I saw you out playing with your other band and I'm starting a rockabilly group and we're looking for a front person. And from what I've seen, I think you would be a good fit. Would you be interested in coming in and kind of trying that out? And like the scene in Kingston was like, there were a lot of rockabilly and psychobilly shows going on at that time. So I was already like a bit immersed in it and thought that it was really fun, danceable. I loved the whole throwback and the way we were really going back to the roots of rock and roll. So when they asked me if I wanted to try out, I went, I said yes. And then at that point, I kind of really felt like I found my voice. And then we started writing, and then that was called Lara Hope and the Champ-Tones. And then a few years later, we had a lineup change. We became the Ark-Tones, and it was kind of like a snowball ever since then.
I was not expecting that answer. The stereotypical Long Island answer I was expecting was, well, Brian Setzer and the Stray Cats grew up 4 towns over from me. And so my parents knew Brian Setzer, and I saw a gig when I was 6. And that's the answer I was expecting.
I wish that was true, but I mean, my parents they're not rock and rollers. Like my dad listens to big band music and show tunes. Like my mom listens to folk music and show tunes and like Jewish music.
Yeah.
So I really wasn't brought up with rock and roll. We did tour with Brian Setzer a few years ago, and we definitely, got to talk about the Long Island connection. And we do go back and play. Do you live in Long Island now? Or?
I live on Long Island in a town called Long Beach. Joan Jett is on this block. So.
Yep, we played with Joan Jett in Kingston. Right. Yeah. We play at my father's place in Roslyn. That's like our spot when we go to Long Island now.
Great venue.
And I know that's got like the most amazing history.
Absolutely. Billy Joel and the Ramones and Springsteen and everyone played there either on their way up or a little while after they made it at my father's place. So great company for you to be in. So what I'm finding with rockabilly now, my first exposure, I think, was the Stray Cats and the Brian Setzer Orchestra. And then I got into, you mentioned psychobilly before. I think Reverend Horton Heat was my second exposure. Was that kind of your thing where it was the normal people and then you saw, oh, hey, faster, louder guitar solos, and that was your hook to it all?
Well, my husband, Matt, he was in a psychobilly band when we met. And that's where the name the Ark-Tones come from, because his band was called the Arkhams and my band was called the Champ-Tones. And when we joined forces, we called it the Ark-Tones. But like I mentioned, there were this maybe like 10, 12 years ago, there were a lot of bands like that touring through Kingston at the time. And I did and still love, when shows start up again, I will love to go to the shows again. But sure. So I saw a lot of rockabilly bands, and so that kind of like melded the two worlds together that I liked of, like I said, for years I had played kind of like a hard rock, punk rock, and then now I was playing this rockabilly music. So it was a great mix of those two things.
And then from there, did you just go deeper and deeper into the catalog? Like, I can't imagine that you knew who Wanda Jackson was right away.
I remember so well that when I joined the Champ-Tones, Jeff, who he was kind of the founder of that band. He's a luthier. He builds custom Telecasters called Champ-Tone guitars, and he made me all these mix CDs and like had tons of Wanda Jackson on it. That was the first time I heard Wanda Jackson, and and it had Janice Martin and all sorts of stuff I really kind of just loved right away.
So of course, you have to go into historian mode, and that leads to more and more and more and more. But are you listening to rockabilly by choice now all the time, or has it become more of a work thing because you don't want to write stuff that sounds exactly like what you're listening to?
Good question. Yeah, to be honest, I don't listen to very much to traditional rockabilly anymore. I kind of like more of the neo rockabilly, which is what we've, kind of been classified. People that just sort of took rockabilly and then put like their own more modern spin on it. Like
Yeah,
I think there's so much great traditional rockabilly that's been done, and we're not going to do it any better than they did it authentically. So we're just trying to take our own, and our albums, the people that are really rockabilly purists that like really love that traditional stuff, they might not like us because we do branch out into like country and rhythm and blues and jazz and blues, uh and rock and roll. So I mean, I don't even really call us a rockabilly band anymore. I just try to say like roots rock and roll, because we take, if you listen to our music, it's not very traditional. So yeah, but
yeah.
when we play a lot of events, a lot of like rockabilly festivals, we are immersed in a lot of more traditional rockabilly stuff. So I feel like I kind of get my fill of that at a lot of the shows we play.
Yeah, it is kind of lazy to just call you a rockabilly artist, because when you think about it, when you take a step back, here's a singer whose songs are her telling stories, and it's got rock and roll elements to it, but that's not all it is. It's not just a 1-4-5 progression. It's not just a put guitar solo here. There's different sonics, there's different genres going on and all that. So I guess the fact that I was leading in with all these rockabilly questions, you were first thinking, oh boy, I'm going to have to answer just rockabilly questions. But no, you raise a really good point there, that it's an evolved sound. And to the untrained ear, yes, you're a rockabilly artist.
You're right. And that's part of it, is like there are some people that love that genre, and there are some people that either don't know what it means or aren't interested in it. And since I do think we're more than that, I feel like in the past we've been so pigeonholed by just saying we're a rockabilly band, but it's like, okay, but if you're a person that likes jazz, you might like us, and if you're a person that likes country, you might like us. So let's not just call us that, so you can actually maybe give us a chance. And there's also, the rockabilly scene is only so big. We've already toured with Brian Setzer. There's nowhere bigger you can go than that. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah,
would like to break into a more mainstream scene.
makes sense to me. Okay. Well, Some Advice is the latest release.
That's the latest single.
Okay. I wanted to make sure that was correct information and that wasn't Wikipedia history, because, sometimes you say that's your latest release and they go, no, it's not. That's 4 ago. Maybe the people on Wikipedia are wrong.
No, you're
How
right. That's the second single off of an album that we have coming out next month.
Okay, got it. So the question I ask everybody is, in the midst of COVID-19, everyone has been more productive than they've ever been in their life the last 14 months, or the least inspired they've ever been. Which one are you? Have you written 50 songs since this latest single, or scaled back?
Both. Early in the pandemic, my husband and I also play as a duo called the Gold Hope Duo. So when everything was shut down, we weren't seeing our bandmates. It was really just us in our house. We wrote and learned to record a pandemic inspired album and released it last summer, called Songs in the Key of Quarantine. So so in the first months of quarantine, I did a whole bunch of writing, and then we learned how to use, at the time, GarageBand, recorded it, mixed and mastered it, released it, did it all. So yes, really productive in the beginning months. And then I kind of had a lull for a little bit once like that album got out. Although when the weather got better, we started gigging again. So we were gigging like not as much as in a normal year, but we
Right.
were doing outdoor gigs as much as we could, between like May and November, until it was too cold. We like, towards the end, we were bringing space heaters and playing, trying to keep our hands warm, because we were just trying to gig as long as we could outdoors while it was safe. So, so sometimes when we're gigging a lot, songwriting takes a back burner, because that just takes up so much like mental and physical energy to actually be out playing shows. And then January hit, and I just got a ukulele for my birthday last year, and so I did a virtual ukulele camp. And that was like very inspirational. And I wrote a bunch of songs back in January as part on ukulele. Some of them have now like been transferred to guitar and to the full band. Some of them will never be played again. And some of them are staying like ukulele songs for me to do with the duo. And then, so that happened. And then I've kind of like put all my sights onto releasing this album, which comes out next month. So that's been very time consuming for the past few months. That comes out in June. And then we'll see what happens after that.
Well, that's actually what I was leading towards was, do you know what's happening in 2022? It sounds like you do, of course, waiting to see what happens, what gets canceled, what gets pushed back, gets pushed up per se. But It sounds like there's hope and 2022 will be a more active year, but still 2021 has plenty going on for you.
For sure. And another thing I should add that we did that we're still doing is once COVID hit in March, we've done a live stream show every single Monday. Every single Monday. I think we missed one or two in the past like 14 months, 15 months from our Facebook and our YouTube page from 7 to 8 p.m. In the beginning, it was as a duo. Then it was mostly, now it's as a trio. Sometimes we bring our drummer and do it as a full band. And we've amassed a really nice group of people that tune in every week. And then we get new folks coming in and we've got the chat going on. So we talk to the audience a lot, and that's been really fun and really just rewarding on many levels. But yeah, as of now, the next number of months are kind of filling up, mostly outdoor shows, a couple of indoor shows in places that feel safe. My whole band is fully vaccinated. And our first big out of town event is in September. We're flying to Las Vegas to play at the Viva Las Vegas Rockabilly Festival.
Oh, wow.
So that'll be fun. And I know in February of 2022, we have another festival down in Florida we'll be flying to. Besides that, everything is like regional that we're doing.
Hey, the fact that you have one out of town gig, that alone says a lot, because I would say as recently as about a month and a half ago, there's one particular Monday where, as a person who gets a lot of press releases, every other press release, tour announced, tour canceled, and you didn't know where things were going. And here on Long Island, Jones Beach, it looks like they pushed half the shows off and then half the shows are new. So you don't know where anything is going. So I'd imagine the second that you get a Vegas booking, you go, oh, cool, I think.
I think that by September, things are already opening up so much in the past 2 weeks even, that I really think by September, it's going to be a whole new ball game. And I've just started to see some venues saying, I read this today for the first time, to come to a show at this place indoors, you either have to show your vaccination card or take a rapid test at the door that you pay for $15. I saw another venue that said you either need to have your vaccination card or a negative COVID test from that day or whatever. So, I mean, I think with things like that moving forward, I don't see why things won't continue to open up.
Got it. Well, two quick questions, then you're free. And the first one comes from absolute nowhere. And I don't know if this is going to get a blank response from you, but it sounds like you have an appreciation of all genres of rock. So the random question is, who is the best lead singer of Van Halen?
I don't even have an answer for you for that. I'm honestly not. Eddie Van Halen.
Okay, wrong answer. But we'll do a substitute question then. And that's, what TV show should we be watching if we need a new show to start in the near future?
The Goldbergs.
Okay.
If you like comedy.
Yeah, I hate comedy. Who hates comedy?
Some weird people like depressing shit, or I only watch sci-fi or whatever. I don't know, especially like considering we've talked about the whole, being Jewish thing. I think the Goldbergs is definitely the right answer because it reminds me so much of my family. Do you watch it? Are you familiar with it?
I'm super familiar with that.
Yeah.
Adam F. Goldberg and all.
The best. I know that show's been on for a while, but I just started watching it about a year or two ago and then binge watched all the seasons.
For sure. And the closer, and this can include as much self-promotion as you want, and that's, Lara, any last words for the kids?
For the kids, yeah, of course. Don't have an ego. Show up when you say you're going to show up. Be nice to everyone you meet, whether that's your fans, the sound guy, the booker, the bartender, the bouncer, your parents. Brush your teeth. Pay your bills on time. Yeah, show up and be nice.
Well, it is really wonderful to connect. It's wonderful to see that somebody can have a career, in the performing arts that's independent of their childhood. You said, hey, this is what I'm going to do, and you did it. So keep it up, and looking forward to seeing you live in New York, whether it's Long Island, New York City, when the time is right.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Paltrocast.